We have to make our core be empowered. We have to bring jobs into America because our best export is entertainment and ideas. But when we make everything in China and not in America, then we're cheating on our country.
That was Kanye West at the White House last week. With the midterms fast approaching, the musician is considered a rarity in Hollywood politics. West is one of the few prominent figures vouching for Republicans ahead of Election Day. This comes as more and more celebrities step into the national spotlight for the other side of the aisle. In a new article for Variety out Tuesday, one reporter says Hollywood Democrats have one message ahead of November: this is personal. Ted Johnson joins me now. He's a senior editor for Variety's Washington bureau. Ted, welcome. You write that Hollywood Democrats are doubling down ahead of the midterms. What's been the catalyst for this uptick in involvement?
Well, it's absolutely President Trump. We're seeing kind of this wave of enthusiasm, wave of energy that we haven't seen before within the entertainment industry. There's probably going to be about more than 30 million raised for Democratic and Republican candidates. The bulk of that is going to go to Democrats. The breakdown is about 80% to 20%. But it's very unusual for Hollywood to put this much attention on midterm races. In the House in particular, we're seeing candidates from out of state, out of California, descend on L.A. On an almost weekly basis to raise money. And it's rare that you've had that level of interest among donors within the entertainment industry and in these specific races from across the country. And we're also seeing it with a lot of gubernatorial races and, of course, Senate races.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. And you also say that Hollywood donors are targeting their giving to individuals or groups of contenders from places that have no connection to the entertainment industry. So what different strategies are being implemented on the ground now compared to 2016?
Well, certainly there's a feeling within the entertainment industry that they've become savvier, that they've learned from 2016. I mean, this time around, we're seeing a lot of the same work that's being done on behalf of candidates. We're seeing celebrities out on the campaign trail. We're seeing a lot of get out the vote videos. The difference, though, is I think I talked to producers and writers and directors who are involved in some of these efforts, and they say that we're being a little more strategic about when to deploy some of these campaign commercials or these campaign videos, as opposed to 2016 when it seemed like a free-for-all when you saw a load of celebrities out on the campaign trail for Hillary Clinton. Time will tell. We'll see if this actually works. No one seems to really, know what the magic formula is, but definitely people are saying we're doing things a little bit differently.
Well, there are, of course, always critics who say that actors are not authorities to be listened to about politics. How is Hollywood pushing back on that notion?
Well, it's interesting because Republicans really are hammering Democratic candidates this time around. They do, actually, I should say, they do in every cycle, but it seems to be even more magnified this time around. President Trump has gotten in on the action in bashing Hollywood, but candidates in Montana, John Tester, Phil Bredesen in Tennessee, they've been the target of Republican attacks for their association with some entertainment figures, some musicians who've said some kind of outrageous things about President Trump. We're seeing a lot of pushback this time around. I talked to Jane Fonda a couple months ago, and I said, what do you think Hollywood figures should do in the face of these GOP attacks? And she says, don't cower. In other words, be more visible. And there seems to be a lot of kind of resentment, in fact, or that there's this kind of hypocrisy particularly by the president, that he's allowed to be a celebrity himself, or as you saw with Kanye West, and he doesn't get penalized for it. He doesn't get attacked for it in the same way that maybe a Democratic candidate gets attacked on the campaign trail whenever they associate themselves with a celebrity and gets tarred with this whole idea that they're from the liberal coastal elite.
Right. You know, you bring up a really interesting point. President Trump himself is a celebrity, albeit one who has bashed Hollywood numerous times. Last week, as we saw in that video, Kanye West appeared in the Oval Office. Why is it significant, Ted, that the president actually gave Kanye a platform?
Well, I think that Trump, it's almost like he couldn't resist. I mean, it's funny, that morning, Thursday morning, it seemed like the White House was going to really play down this visit of Kanye West. It wasn't on the schedule. And then kind of at the last moment, they allowed the cameras in. It was almost like he couldn't resist the idea that here was this very well-known musician, iconic in many ways, who had endorsed him. Remember, President Trump has really struggled to get entertainers out to support him. You saw that in the Republican convention. You saw that in the inauguration. And I think he just likes the idea that here is someone who has come out to support him in a very big way, and he wanted to draw that attention to it.
Well, how could celebrity influence backfire on Democrats?
Well, I think it's the way that Republicans have done it. They have said that not only are some of these Democratic candidates embracing Hollywood, but they're embracing figures who are unhinged. That's the description that the GOP put on one of its web videos. Back in June, they had a video of a whole bunch of entertainment figures who were saying outrageous things about President Trump, and said, "Look, this is who that Democrat is actually attaching themselves to." So I think that in context of the way that the Republicans are trying to make this kind of a culture war going into the midterm elections, that could do some damage to Democrats, especially in some of these red states.
Right. I mean, do we have any indications that these Republican attacks are working?
Well, it's funny. There hasn't been a whole lot of polling that's done. The only polls that really have been done on this have been on whether voters really pay attention to celebrities when it comes to making their choices. And I think that there's probably a natural tendency among voters to say, no, it doesn't influence the way I want to vote, because who would want to admit that, oh, the way Taylor Swift goes is the way that I'm going to choose my candidate? Right. So I think that there has to be probably a lot more polling to see if it actually hurts. From the whole idea, probably from the whole perspective that if it distracts a Democratic candidate from talking about issues like health care, which seem to be doing very well for the Democrats this cycle, in that respect, it probably benefits Republicans.
All right, Ted Johnson, a fascinating look at the intersection of Hollywood and politics this election cycle. Thanks so much, Ted.
Thank you.